Unmasking. What do I mean by unmasking? I thought that when I found out I was autistic, and bearing in mind that autism had never been on my radar, how that can be, I don't know. How can you spend 6 decades nearly not knowing when the signs were so obvious? But for me, unmasking is far more important for me, unmasking to myself, than for anyone else. And it sounds like that makes no sense. Why would you mask yourself to yourself? But you do. And this is going to sound very convoluted and it's very difficult to put into words. But when I was diagnosed, or even before I was diagnosed, as soon as autism was mentioned in relation to me and my little broccoli brain, I thought, aha, epiphany, I get it. This is why, this is that, this is that. And oh yeah, of course, I believed that even though I had a lot of social issues and I'd hidden from society for a long, long time, I thought I was really good at masking when I did go out socially, because I thought I'd watched enough and learnt enough to understand what was going on over the years, that I could get by for very short amounts of time. I've never spent a lot of time in society. When I was doing my jobs, they were usually working with people that were either neurodivergent or older people with dementia or other mental health issues. They were not usually, apart from the admin people, which I struggled with. It's almost like I believed I'd kind of got a handle on it a bit, but then I realised I didn't have a freaking clue. All of the masking that I thought I was doing, that I thought I was really good at, people would either see through it or just think I was a weirdo. And I still don't understand. So, why bother? So unmasking to myself is more important. And because I don't have a big social life, mostly when I've told people, they've been fine. It's been like, oh yeah, well, you always knew you were a weirdo. Feel free. I have a very small social circle. But they're cool, they know me for who I am. What I did find difficult and very surprising was unmasking to my family and the people I'm close to. And that took the form of just saying, look, I guess I'm autistic. Obviously they knew they had to interview my family. My family had to give their story and fill in all this as part of my diagnosis. So I wasn't like hiding it from them. And my kids have been with me all my life, obviously. And my oldest daughter knew I was autistic for like years and years before I knew, and didn't tell me because my mental health was very fragile, apparently, which is pretty true. But when I stopped being a yes person, when I stopped pretending, when I stopped making socially acceptable excuses about why I didn't do things and told the truth, people didn't really like it. I think they used to feel that I was awkward before, especially with my morning thing, and I felt awkward, that I have to have things a certain way and do this routine if it gets interrupted. They didn't really understand that and would just say, oh yeah, well she's mad, which they always did. But when I tried to explain and stuck to my guns and said, look, this is how it's got to be for me, they really didn't like it, and they would fight against it. My sister, who I love dearly, really didn't understand a lot of hadn't seen me for a few years, certainly not since my diagnosis. And although we speak on the phone a lot, we live at opposite ends of the planet. And she said, oh, you've changed. I can't remember what she said now. Like, rather than hide things, I would say them. Because when I do say things, because I can't do the small talk, I'm quite blunt. So I'd either shut up or try to pretend I agreed with people or go with the flow. I stopped doing that. If I didn't want to do something, I said so. And I kind of said why. And I guess they found that difficult because they were used to this yes person. I wasn't being horrible. I was just trying to save myself I was already really burnt out. And I knew that I had to be my own advocate because nobody else would. So that is one thing about unmasking. You've got to be your own advocate. And you've got to be prepared for reactions like that, I think. And like my daughter, who lives with me and always lived with me, my youngest daughter, I take medication for ADHD, and the ADHD and autism can mask each other. So when they started treating the ADHD, the autism came out stronger and said, oh, have you taken your tablets, Mildred? Whatever they used to say. Or you've got worse. And no, I hadn't. They're just used to me saying yes and being this person who's always in the wrong and admitting that I'm like this weirdo. It kind of feels a bit like that. But then there's unmasking to yourself, and this is so important because when you get diagnosed, doesn't change, obviously. You're still the weird person you've always been. But you can try and peel away the layers, and it really is like peeling away an onion. You do cry a lot, and there's a lot of grief, and it's not linear. You go up and down. I'm feeling quite upbeat today, but the burnout I'm going through is so chronic, and that's part of the unmasking as well. Realizing that I've been living this life that I just cannot do anymore. And once you stop, and actually I think the medication has helped my brain to tell my body to stop, because since I did start medication, I've been so tired, whereas before I never used to know I was tired. I never used to know I was hungry or thirsty or needed to go to the toilet until the very last minute. And the same thing with fatigue and energy. I did not know I was tired, but I would go years and years not realizing, with massive sleep deficiency. So unmasking is just not about stopping pretending in public or pretending to be something you're not. And it's not that easy. It's a big thing, and it takes a long time, and it's layers and layers and layers, depending on how long you've been going without being diagnosed. I mean, you've been autistic all your life, and if you've only just found out and you're 60 years old, there's a lot of layers to unpack and unpeel. And I think during that process, we go backwards, and sometimes we'll be hiding ourselves from ourselves because we can't cope. You get overwhelmed, so you just go back into hiding. It's complex. It's not easy. It's not like taking off the alien hat or the mask. It's not like taking off the mask and here I am. Not like that at all. I think it's freeing. But it takes a lot of love and a lot of care. It's not something you need to make sure that you're safe. Always, always safe. We don't need any more kicking around and bullying and self-hatred. We need love, and we need to care, and we need to know that if we're going to show up as who we are, we're doing it in a really safe and loving place. And if you can't do it in a place like that, then it's not worth doing it out to people outside. You've got to do it to yourself. But even with yourself, you've got to make that loving. We don't always find it easy to be loving towards ourselves. Sometimes you wonder if it's worth it. I've got this far. I've gone 6 decades wearing this mask, but I haven't. People saw through it. They just didn't know. Oh, some people saw through it. 6 decades of not knowing. How can you live 6 decades with every sign and symptom in the book and not know you're autistic? This question's been buzzing around my mind for the last week or so. I think because of the burnout, and I've been learning more and more about autism. Since I was diagnosed 2 years ago, officially, and I've been going through burnout all that time too. Really, the chronic burnout, the burnout of all burnouts. And doing it all wrong, mostly. Even then, I think, oh yeah, I've got a handle on it. I'll go and screw it up again. Like with the masking thing, and you think you're doing a really good job, and then you realise you're not. There's so much, and I think this question keeps coming back to me. I feel like an imposter. I feel like I get stuck, even though I got my official diagnosis 2 years ago now, and it was probably a year or so before that they first told me they're pretty sure I was autistic. That was when it first came on my radar. And even though, because of I'm autistic, I researched it to the nth degree. I spent thousands of hours, I think, researching it, minding more than my GP and everyone. Once I did those tests and I thought, this is crazy, because you try and prove that you're not autistic, because you can't believe that you are autistic. You can't believe there could be an answer. That's common. But recently, I've been looking at like lots of things I do all the time, more and more. I start thinking, well, why do I do that? Why do I do this? This can't all be part of autism. And then I find out it is so many different things, like the interoception thing, that when my body doesn't know when it's tired, doesn't know when it's hungry or thirsty until the very last minute. And this is a thing with burnout, because I get so tired that by the time I realise I'm tired, I can't move, and then I'm too tired to eat. That's another cycle, a rolling thing that keeps going. The same with the masking. When you try to unmask, you discover so many layers of things, and it becomes so overwhelming that you go and hide behind the mask again, because it's just too much. Anyway, I don't really know what I'm saying anymore.